Hello, welcome back to Firesense Gaming. My name is Ben, and today we're going to continue on with Rizia. So last time out, the main thing that happened was we attended a meeting of the House of Delegates, but also had a bunch of, little, executive orders and some other reports and stuff coming up that might very well come back to haunt us later. I don't know. Dealing with some stuff with civil unrest and some possible trade problems. So we'll see what happens. But we also agreed to head to Derdia to meet with Supreme. What was this guy's name? Supreme Wiseman Osmal. There we go. So let's go meet with him. Standing on a remote mountain plateau outside of Nio, the Silver Garrison was headquarters of the Derdian government, as well as the dwelling place of its leader, Supreme Wiseman Yorga Osmal. For our meeting today, Osmal had granted me the rare permission to enter his inner sanctum. After a lengthy drive up steep, curving roads, our motorcade parked just outside the garrison's gates. Titus and I met Sal as we exited our respective vehicles. I confess that I do not know what to expect, Your Majesty. I have studied Coke and his compounds like these successfully, but never been allowed inside. Wait, are they going to let Sal into the inner sanctum too, or... I don't know, guess we'll find out. I'm surprised you studied a religion that you despise so much. I do not despise the Gokiness, Your Majesty. I still have hope that they will return to the fold. The heavy gates swung open, and a group of Osmal's guards ushered us inside. The garrison's grounds were much larger than I would have guessed, almost the size of Port Trezon's old town. A gleaming silver pillar rose up from the center, surrounded by a cluster of administrative and religious buildings. Greenhouses, storage silos, and living quarters lined the perimeter, separated from the inner circle by a clear, natural stream. The first residents we saw were women in identical white dresses, drawing water from the stream and carrying baskets of vegetables to and from the greenhouses. These are seekers, Your Majesty. It is said that through their physical labor, they will gain the mental clarity they need to begin the pursuit of Golconda. They do all the dirty work, while the true believers lounge around doing nothing. Sounds like a scam. The work of the disciples and adepts is no less rigorous, Your Majesty, but yes, the seeker role is particularly thankless. As the guards led us closer to the pillar, the sound of men's voices could be heard. Short, sharp shouts emitted in perfect unison. The disciples, they practice purification of the spirit through strict martial arts regimens. I bet Titus could take them all on.
Not by the sound of it, Your Majesty.
We emerged into the center of the garrison. In front of the pillar was a training ground the size of a football field, flanked on either side by white marble temples. On it, some 4 dozen men were engaged in combat drills. Titus watched in open admiration as they executed a complex choreography of strikes, blocks, and counterattacks, each punctuated by a forceful cry. A gong chimed in the distance. Almost instantly, the disciples spread out to form a perfect circle around us. Yorga Osmal, dressed in the same robes I'd seen him wear at the Alliance of Nations, stepped out from their midst. Welcome to Civic Garrison, Your Majesty. I don't remember what his voice was, but it's fine. I don't think he said too much before anyway. I think I screw half these voices up anyway, but whatever. Let's see here. Anyway, let's go with the first one. Seems like the politest answer. Thank you for the demonstration, Supreme Wiseman. The skill of your disciples is admirable indeed. They still have far to go, but thank you. His smile curdled as he turned to Sal. So, Grand Wiseman, we finally meet. I've been looking forward to it, Supreme Wiseman. Shall I lead us in a Ruis's prayer ceremony? Huh, what a dick. For this special occasion, I had something different in mind, a traditional Derdian duel of generosity. Sal's face turned white. It would be a great privilege to participate in your holy tradition. You are familiar with our custom, even better. No weapons, no bloodshed, each leader represented by a champion of his choosing. He spread his arms wide. Talo mistari zirak nalen. The circle of men flattened out into a long line. Oswald slowly walked from one end to the other, then back to the middle. He stood in front of a particularly tall, well-built disciple and bowed. The man took a step forward and returned the gesture. I'll be represented by Lauren. His participation in this duel shall be his final challenge before his ascension to the rank of Adept. The rest of the disciples applauded. Sa politely followed suit. Oswald turned towards Titus. My bodyguard tensed up instinctively. Captain Guardian, I have heard tales of your fighting prowess both before and after you began serving the king. Am I right to assume that you have brought this man as your champion, Your Majesty? I have. Captain Guardian shall represent me in the Duel of Generosity. Sal nudged Titus forward. The captain bowed.
Yes, I'll do my best to make the crown proud, sir.
Excellent. I am looking forward to witnessing a Rizian Golden Guard in action. Each fighter will now have 5 minutes to prepare. Lauren nodded his assent and walked away. He knelt on a patch of grass and raised his arms skyward in prayer, his face a mask of concentration. Titus removed his blazer. He performed a few stretches and started throwing practice jabs in the air. I walked over to him. Let's go with that. Don't pull any punches, Captain Guardian. Show Derdia what a real fighter looks like. He nodded fiercely.
I will, sir.
A short while later, another gong sounded. The disciples formed a tight circle around Titus and the man Yorga Osmal had called Loron. The Supreme Wiseman stepped between them. The duel will last 10 minutes, or until one opponent acknowledges the other's superior skill in combat. Should a fighter draw blood, the duel will be called off immediately. Its results void before the Lord. You will bow to one another, and the duel will commence. Interesting. He stepped back into the circle. He and the disciples began a low, deep-voiced chant in Derdian as Titus and Lauren bowed to one another. The moment they began sparring, it was obvious how evenly matched they were. The Derdian fighter moved with a fluid unpredictability, Titus with sharp, deliberate precision. Every strike was met with a parry, every advance with a retreat. I snuck a look at Yorga Osmal. The Supreme Wiseman seemed utterly spellbound by the spectacle unfolding before us. Suddenly I heard a cry of pain. Titus was doubled over on the ground, clutching his side just below his ribcage. Loron, looking dumbfounded, reached a hand down to help. Titus swatted it away and lurched unsteadily to his feet. He had a look in his eyes that bordered on feral. I'm just gonna go with that, because it sounds fun. Kick his ass, Titus. Something seemed to snap in my bodyguard. He became a whirlwind of fists and feet, landing blow after blow on his Derdian opponent. Your Majesty, Captain Guardian, please. Loron weakly held his hands in front of his face, attempting to concede. Titus ignored him and delivered a final, brutal punch to the jaw. The Derdian staggered backwards. He spat out a blood-covered tooth before collapsing to the ground. Stop the duel! The chanting ceased and the circle broke apart. Osmal rushed to his champion's side. What happened? Explain yourselves. Forgive me, Supreme Wiseman. I got carried away. Titus coughed.
No, it's my fault. I was taken by surprise and I broke the rules.
Lauren sat up in a daze. Osmal signaled for a pair of disciples to lead him away. Don't despair, my champion. The day of your ascent will soon come. He stood up and brushed off his robe imperiously. You wanted to talk, we will talk, but your brute must stay outside. The disciples began dispersing. Osmal beckoned for me to come with him. Titus stood outside as Sal and I followed the Supreme Wiseman through a door at the base of the pillar. The staircase led down to a softly lit room, its walls lined floor to ceiling with bookshelves. There were no tables or chairs, just a number of comfortable-looking cushions on the carpeted floor. Oswald gestured for us to sit. This is the very heart of the guest, Your Majesty. I never make a political decision without consulting the teachings of Saint Ruick. I spend my time listening to my people, Supreme Wiseman, not saints who died centuries ago. Mistake. The will of the people is capricious, while the wisdom of saints is eternal. I would suggest you read on the embrace of divine differences. It might lead you to treat Gorkanists differently in your country. Go with that one. I don't want to be too agreeable, I guess. You act as if Gorkanists are innocent victims, as if you haven't been involved in insurgency and terrorism. Is it terrorism to protect one's right to exist, insurgency to break the chains that our oppressors have placed on us? Asmal crossed his arms. You agreed to meet with me. I would assume you did so in pursuit of a mutually beneficial arrangement between our countries. But first, we must discuss your so-called blasphemy law. His eyes were fixed on Sal. The arch-sanctuaries of Plavo, Benyevon, and Jalais are three of the most sacred sites in the Russus religion. It is not fair that my people are denied access to them. You were allowed to enter them. You crowded out the real Russus to the point of damaging one of our precious sanctuaries. If you wish to limit the flow of our visitors to your arch-sanctuaries, we will not oppose that. But I suspect your law has never been only about overcrowding. Sal sat upright. It's no secret that the majority of Russusism leaders regard Gorkanism as a taint in our religion. At Saints, Gorkanism has millions of practitioners, all of whom would testify that we are following the one true path Saint Ruick laid out for us. My. Everyone has the exact right true religion. So weird. Let's go to that. Doesn't enlightenment through violence directly contradict Ruick's teachings? Not violence. As Ruick wrote, one must hone the discipline of the body as well as the spirit to guard and guide the virtues bestowed by the divine. Yet, in the quiet whisper of peace, truth and righteousness take root and flourish. Quartz will get us nowhere, gentlemen. Let's get back to the real world. Freedom of religion is a real concern, Your Majesty. Let's go with that. I still don't understand the importance of these particular sites. Can't you build your own temples in Derdia? Every Russus should have the right to tread the same ground our saints once did, especially those Derdians already living in Rizia. My people have mined your gold, built your weapons, extracted your gas, yet they are barred from their religion's holiest of places. It's not Derdian laborers we're worried about, it's holy pilgrims. Laborer and pilgrim alike pray to the same God, Your Majesty. You cannot judge Derdians only by the value they provide to your kingdom. I know the strife Rizia is facing. If you would see reason and lift this unjust ban, there's much we in Derdia can do to help you. Can you ensure that your people respect our holy buildings? They belong to all Russus, after all. I cannot control what Derdians do in your country, but I will help you preserve order at the three arch-sanctuaries to the extent that I am able. Sal looked at me with warning in his eyes. You tread a dangerous path, Your Majesty. I do not know whether Rizia can tolerate an influx of Gokendists. Much as I'd like to lift the ban, I currently lack the resources to pass such an impactful piece of legislature. He looked at me as if trying to judge whether I was serious. Very unfortunate, Your Majesty. There is nothing more we can accomplish today. I beg you both to get out of my compound. He gestured towards the door. Sal stood and looked him in the eye. It is not too late to repent, Supreme Wiseman. I could say the same to both of you. He ushered us out of the room and up the stairs. The sun was still shining brightly as we emerged from the base of the pillar. Outside, Titus was sitting by himself, his eyes on the group of disciples exercising some distance away. On seeing me, he rose and snapped to attention.
Your Majesty, shall we go?
What's the rush? It is time for you to leave, Your Majesty. We have done all we set out to do. Asbel extended his hand to me. I hope to see you in Port Rizal soon. I will consult with my schedule. Sounds of sung hymns and clashing swords accompanied us as we made our way out of the compound. I knew that I would never see the Silver Garrison again. Interesting, that was a little weird. Let's see here. Order, I'm going to assume it's just, yeah, Golkanis are upset now. That's okay, not much I can do about it. Great, now give me -1 authority per turn now too. It's fantastic, but let's see here. It's in order. Economy, welfare, trade, construction. Oh, religion, there we go. Let's see. Is it in here somewhere? Nope, okay. Okay, so I don't see anything in here about removing the, yeah, whatever that ban was he was talking about, so, I don't know. Anyway, let's just head back to Port Rizal for a meeting with Hugo, apparently. My shoes echoed on stone as I walked down the palace corridor to Hugo's study. My uncle had invited me for a one-on-one talk, and though I had plenty on my mind, I could hardly decline. Titus remained on guard outside as I pushed open the door and stepped inside. I cast my eye over the filigreed mahogany desk, the antique cabinets, and the tasteful paintings and sculptures lining the walls. Fire flickered in the fireplace. 2 leather armchairs had been set out in front of it. One empty, the other occupied by Hugo. My uncle rose and bowed upon my approach. Not sure if I like that kind of dramatic music in the background. Your Majesty, thank you for joining me this evening. Come on, Hugo, it's just us two here. Talk to me as an equal. As you prefer, Romus. He beckoned me over, and we both sat. Tell me, my nephew. How much thought have you given to the future of House Taurus? King's legacy should be determined by his words and deeds, not his lineage. But how will his words and deeds live on with no name to remember him by? Our family's roots can be traced all the way back to the Resonant Empire, where we've survived war, conquest, and numerous challenges to the throne to be where we are today. He picked up a poker and jostled the logs in the fireplace. A shower of sparks flew upwards. You'll be happy to know that House Taurus is quite pleased with your reign so far. Thank you for telling me that. It means a lot to know I have Valankir's support during these trying times. I would not be saying this if it weren't true. Of course, the investment you've made in our home province has been greatly appreciated. Is that why you've summoned me here, to tell me what a good job I've done? Unfortunately not. But there is something that could cause you to lose a house entirely. Or rather, someone. Manus Sazon. He spoke the name like a curse word. I am certain you had good intentions in allowing the Sazon heir to court Vina. But I would tell you this, if you permit Her Highness to marry this man, your grip on the throne will weaken to the point where I cannot recover it. He is not just a Sazon heir, he's a House of Delegates majority speaker. He could be a powerful ally. Or a powerful enemy. You needn't allow your reign to be undone by a pair of starry-eyed youths. There are actions that can be taken. Actions? That sounds like a euphemism if I ever heard one. You're right, I should speak to you as an adult. He's an ambitious young man. There must be something he wants more than the princess. And if the carrot doesn't work, there is always the stick. Oh my god. That is a terrible joke, but I'm going with it. I like carrots. They're full of vitamins. By all means, make him an offer. However, this doesn't solve the problem of who the princess should wed. I have half a mind to marry her to Axel Reinhardt. Hugo drew his breath in through his teeth. Risky. Very risky. We came dangerously close to wordplay. I would not trust the Duke with your daughter just yet. Think about it. It's the ultimate gesture of Rizian Pelesian unification. Or yet another opportunity for Pelesian power grip. As I said, you have earned House Solus's loyalty, but name the wrong man as Prince Consort and you run the risk of losing it. He paused. Well, unless you can produce a male heir yourself. I should stop harping on about this. I know you and the princess will make the right decision. You're my Grand Vizier and my uncle. Your advice is always valuable to me. We rose from our chairs. The fire began to flicker as Hugo ushered me out the door. Titus shadowed me down the hall as I made my way back towards my quarters. On the way there, we passed my study door. Come in for a second, Titus. I want to speak to you privately.
Certainly, Your Majesty.
Titus and I entered the study. I shut the door behind us.
What is it?
How are you? It's not where I expected that to go.
I'm well, Your Majesty. The fate of Zeal has been weighing on my mind, as I'm sure it has yours.
You have no idea.
You bear an unimaginable amount of responsibility. I do not envy you. Was that all you wanted to ask me?
Can I ask you something? What happened to you back in Derdia? Titus flinched.
I must have been thrown off by the altitude. I'm sorry if my performance displeased you.
I watched the fight. He barely touched you. There's simply no way that blow is enough to make you collapse. He lowered his eyes.
Yes, you're right. It's an old boxing injury. Trauma to the kidney that I never fully recovered from. It flares up sometimes, especially when there's impact to the wrong area. Rest assured that I never let it get in the way of my duties.
Was your injury the reason why you left your post the night my father died? He stared at me with a mix of fear and shock.
Who told you about that, Your Majesty?
It's possible my father was murdered. We're trying to get a full picture of what happened that night.
We?
His shoulders slumped.
But yes, you are right. One of my men reactivated the injury during a sparring session at the courtyard earlier that day. The pain became too much to bear, and I rushed to an unoccupied guest room to recuperate. I assigned one of my men to my post in my stead. When I returned, he reported no unusual activity. But I cannot help thinking I might have heard and noticed something he did not. At a moment when the king needed me most, I was not there. I will never let such a thing happen to me again, Your Majesty. I swear upon my life.
Alright, thank you for telling me the truth.
Was there something else you wanted from me?
That doesn't quite make sense, but that's okay. Yes, you're dismissed. I'll be along in a minute.
I'll leave you to it, Your Majesty.
With a bow and a salute, he left the room. After telling Titus to wait outside, I walked into the study and picked up the phone. I asked the palace operator to give me a private line to Manu Sazon. After a few rings, he answered, Your Majesty, to what do I owe this pleasure? What would it take for you to go on a permanent vacation? The line was quiet for a moment. I'm not sure what you're getting at. There are people out there who want you killed. It's dangerous for you to stay in the country. I appreciate your concern for my safety. But I've had a target on my back since the day I was born. I found it's best not to live in fear. You're a politician. You know that sometimes we have to sacrifice our individual desires on the altar of the greater good. I heard a sharp intake of breath. What greater good are you talking about, Your Majesty? If you really think I'd abandon everything I've worked so hard for... His voice trailed off. Well, there is one way I could be convinced to honor your request. Angelica Sazon has been imprisoned on Calica Bees for nearly 30 years. Bring her back to Isa, and I will take my leave. And what do you expect her to do there? To keep my house unified. She is more than happy with the direction which you've taken Rizia. And if you want to keep my house's favor, her return will be crucial. And her own politics? Is she as hungry for change as you or I? She speaks of her participation in the uprising with nothing but regret. Alright, this is a tough one, but I'm gonna go for it. It's a deal then. You leave Rizia, Angelica Sazon will return. If that's the way it must be, just give me a few days to get my affairs in order, and figure out what to say to Vina. Tell her you met someone else. He shuddered audibly. I wish there was another way. Good night, Your Majesty. I put down the receiver and looked at the phone. I'm not calling Rico. I don't like that guy. I walked out the study. Titus escorted me back to my chambers. The guard wished me good night before taking up his usual post outside my door. As I climbed into bed, I thought about the order I'd just given. I knew my daughter would be heartbroken. I just hoped she would never find out I was the reason. Yeah, I don't know if that was a good idea or not, but we're going to roll with it. Alright, let's see here. And, honestly, that feels like as good of a place as any to go ahead and call it for today. So, as always, thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.